Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming to another video. All right, so I'm sitting here recovering. I've been pushing my legs like crazy. As I told you guys, I've been doing a lot of working out, trying to reinvent my lower half, and that requires a little recovery for a non-athlete like myself. So what I just did right now was read the excerpt from ESPN on Robert Sarver and everything that was found in the investigation. I had seen LeBron James's response to the suspension, 1-year suspension and a $10 million fine. He didn't feel it was satisfactory. And when I read his response to what it was, I realized that they had released something to read. And as I told you guys yesterday, I didn't have enough information to have an opinion. So I felt like, it was more important that I get that information before trying to tell you guys what I think more so about the NBA's way of handling it. I wasn't certain. Now I have a bit more of an understanding, and I realized that excerpt was something that I had read pieces from a long time ago and had completely forgotten about. That was something that was released back in 2021, last year. The thing about it is, I'll tell you what I think with Robert Sarver after reading all that. I look at this, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. I was saying, when money holds precedent and over everything, a lot of times things slip through the cracks. People stay in situations they don't need to be in to get money, or they respect people that don't deserve certain types of respect because they have certain types of money, or people are afraid to tell people the truth because they have certain types of power, or it's a lot of stuff that can go wrong when money is the end all be all in the circumstance. People sit in situations that are physically harmful for them for money, emotionally degrading for money, things like that, right? And so I look at Robert Sarver's behavior and I say his behavior to me is a byproduct of money taking precedent over substance in his life. Meaning, people were not telling him things that could help him be a good human along the way, right? He was never given human training in a way that would allow him to honor certain things that are necessary to honor when dealing with others, because his money could always supersede any issue. So if he's rude, he can throw money at it. If he gets into a conflict, he can throw money at it. If for some reason somebody says something to him he don't like, they're not gonna have any power in his life because the money's there. It's a lot of different things. So it's like, everywhere you look to where he would be held accountable for being a better human being, he was not. And it shows in what was written about him. That's what I got. That's exactly what I took from it. See, it's not as simple as to say, oh, he's a racist, or oh, he's a misogynist, and all that. No. This is somebody who's depraved of the proper upbringing to make him a good human being without the presence of the money being there to keep him safe. This is a situation where Robert Sarver's behavior would get him beat up in all kinds of different stuff in most walks of life. And people who have people to answer to, parents who had people to answer to when they go to work, right? They come home and they teach their kid how to live in a world where you have to answer to somebody. You can't just do whatever you want, because at the end of the day, it will hold consequences for you that will eventually run into a wall. And if you do it exactly the way you want to, you'll probably end up homeless and dead, right? Like if you do it exactly against the grain in all things, rudeness, not respecting people, not being respectful of people's space, talking crazy about people, not respecting people's minds, all of those things hold consequences for human beings that are not super trillionaire billionaires, right? Because they have to answer for that. You don't have the security of being able to say whatever you want. You're going to get hit in the mouth. You can be touched. Things like that. That really keep us honest, that keep our parents honest when raising us, keep our villages honest when raising us. I get the feeling that Sarver didn't have an honest village. It looks to me that no one, even from when he was small, taught him how to live amongst people in a way that doesn't have them angry at him. I was looking at some of the stuff he was talking about. He was trying to come to conclusions that made sense to him, but you could tell during the process of his thinking that nothing was checked. Nothing was checked. There was no one there to say, yo, hey, Robert, this doesn't work because, and you shouldn't do it because. Like every time it was time to say that to him, it seems to me he was depraved of that. That very thing. Don't do that. Don't touch that. When you're a little baby, take that out your mouth. Don't do that. Don't say that. You're gonna get a spanking. All of those different things that help us stay in a space where we can respect ourselves and others and just assimilate with others. To me, it seems like he was depraved of a lot of that. Right? So what it looks like to me, and I've been around people like this before, I really have, is he's so out of touch that he's trying to be friendly. But in being friendly with his norms, it's impossible to be friendly because everybody else has to respect certain things that he never has to respect. And not only does he not respect those things, but I think from his perspective, he likes testing those things. He likes making people uncomfortable. He wants the world around him to feel cringe around him. So that doubles down on the problem when you have that tendency on top of all these problems. So as I'm reading this, I'm like, this dude is creating circumstances for where people can feel uncomfortable around him. It's like he's not comfortable unless others are comfortable. So that's what I'm gathering as I'm listening to the behavior. I'm like, oh, this is deep psychological stuff. Like, this is not just about a man who's not respecting others. This is somebody who does not know how to respect themselves. Someone who's depraved of things that would otherwise let them just be able to be cool in a room with a bunch of people in their own skin. You know, and that's what I like. And here's another thing I take from it. A lot of times when you look at people who have extreme racial biases and you look at people who have extreme racial ambiguity, well, I don't know if that's the right word, but as it pertains to, I don't see race at all. So forgive me if the word is wrong, but if it's for a person who does not give any credence to race, sometimes they look the same way. They look like one another. The racist and the guy who gives no credence to race tend to say and do things that are like one another. And that's what I gathered from him, because he doesn't see race at all, but he's in a position of power where everybody's below him. It's like, well, I don't see why this raw, horrible point of view isn't fine, because from where I'm at, this literally is fine. Like, for example, something I read. Now, on our level, this is unthinkable. On a level much lower than us, like on the super poverty level, this mentality's fine. Check this out, case in point. This man said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, taking this from the excerpt that I read. He was trying to sign LaMarcus Aldridge back in like 2004 or something like that. And he essentially was telling someone that he was speaking to, we need to get not LaMarcus Aldridge specifically, but he was saying we need to get a couple strippers here to get impregnated by these dudes so they'll stay in Phoenix. Raw thought. Absolutely inappropriate, right? But that's something you're going to hear on Skid Row. That's the type of mentality that you're going to hear on the lower levels of bottom when nobody know nothing about nothing, just to scrape the floor. It's like whatever means to an end, right? I was looking at something a couple of days ago. It was a CPS worker, a child services worker, suggesting to a young child that she need to sell her body to make ends meet. And the people were talking about how horrible she was and how evil of a human being she was. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the mentality I'm referring to. This is exactly what I am talking about. When it's at the bottom and people don't have a whole lot and you have to live in muck in order to succeed, people will stoop to levels that are beyond your lows to get what it is that they need. And so too do a lot of people at the top. See, ignorance, both with power and without power, looks the same because it's detached from what would otherwise respect certain things. Because it either has nothing and doesn't have to respect it, or because it has everything and doesn't respect it. Either way, it's the same conclusion. It's the same thing. It's an ignorance that does not respect things that others have to adhere to. And because of it, they do not get along with others. It's impossible to. When you get to act crazy, create problems that otherwise cause conflicts and jail time and pain for me, you can get away with it because you can throw money at it. You can get away with it because you have people in place to protect you from your consequences in the physical nature. You can always make sure that people are afraid of you because they are not going to win a legal battle with you. These are things that keep you from doing the hard work of actually becoming a better person. So if Robert Sarver loses all his money and he's thrown into a situation where he has to assimilate with others, he's not going to make it. It's impossible because he's used to living in a level where he doesn't have to respect certain things. So when he gets down here, the consequences of not respecting those things fall on him. All the stuff that we're trained to avoid to keep our lives from being dangerous, he's going to just slip into by natural, just from the sheer fact that he doesn't respect those things. So I'm of the mindset that even if you have it all, you could be Elon freaking Musk. I think there's a great deal of fruit in keeping your children humble as it pertains to understanding exactly what desperation is, exactly what it is to respect others, so that they can survive in that room if their riches and their power is stripped from them. You want to be able to survive in that room with everybody. That is my goal. I don't care if I am a trillionaire in life. If I become the richest man you've ever heard of, my goal is to still be able to raise my kids to be able to live in the room I'm in right now. They need to be able to survive in this environment, because this is the real world. When you don't have any protection, when you don't have people outside who can guard your house, when you don't have legal representation to knock off any and all legal situations, you must adhere to certain things or you will get sued, and that will cripple you. Like, these are things that he didn't have to adhere to because the money's endless. So anytime there's time to hold me accountable morally, the money's endless. I don't have to. We all run into situations where we're forced to meet the consequences of our moral mistakes. Him, not as long as he's doing it the way that he's doing it. So it's like, when he's in this organization with the NBA, they're trying to kind of like raise the man, like literally try to teach him the stuff that he missed along the way, so that he can, quote unquote, sit in that room. Because his power is not enough in a room like that. The money ain't enough in a room like that. You got to behave because other people's reputations are being reflected upon you. And you're in a conglomerate where everybody's got $1 billion, but not everybody is willing to lose money because he doesn't seem to understand what the rest of them may be able to. That doesn't mean that owners don't look at things a certain way. It's just that they don't leave themselves as vulnerable as Robert Sarver. They don't leave themselves looking as if they didn't know how to cover their backside. See, we understand that in the elite world, there are a lot of people who view us as property. They view us as disposable. They view us as this, maybe, whatever. But they still have to respect certain things if they want us to be consumers. They're still selling something. They need me to buy it. They're still trying to push forth a dream. They need me to be a part of it or what have you. The last thing they want is for all of it to fall apart because their reputation goes away. Because their reputation sucks. It's brand representation and understanding that others respect. It seems more so than Robert, or at least at the time when the investigation was taking place. And some of the stuff that I was reading was just tone deaf. Just like the stripper pregnant thing. Like, that's morally on the ground. That's all it is. Like, somebody should have told him at a certain age, like, look, human beings are not property. Even for an elite person like yourself, you still have to understand that that is not how the world's going to react to you. As you continue to move about the world, it's not. You're going to run into this. What you're dealing with the sons more often than you're going to run into acceptance of that behavior. Even without money, no one's going to care. And like I said, if you're in that room where none of your money matters and all you got is your personality and your manners to keep you alive, to keep wolves off you, you're getting eaten. That's what happens to a guy like Robert. He didn't have any friends. And that's what was so sad about the situation. I'm looking here, I'm like, this guy acts like a guy who has no friends. Like, he doesn't know how not to cross lines with others. You know what I mean? Like, he's used to the world hating him because of it, I'm sure. And that probably caters to a lot as well. So I always say, a lot of times people don't understand how and why the energy they get comes back to them, why people react to them the way they do, why they can't seem to get any favor in their life, why people seem to be coming after them, why they want to attack me. Because of a plethora of reasons. One of them may have to do with you being a certain way, your energy or how you approach them, the way you start the conversation when you're in their presence, the way you go about certain things will determine whether or not they react to you in a favorable way sometimes. Some people are jealous, but a lot of times people initiate that jealous within those people. They're not looking at you like, I hate you. You do something that initiates that in them. And sometimes it starts when you neglect certain things that they otherwise respect because you simply don't feel you have to. That's when the hate starts. When you don't respect that, that's when people start plotting against you. I look at how this news was reported. Robert didn't have any friends, like I said, but in a different way. These people weren't looking to help paint a picture of him being a balanced and decent guy in any way. They were telling us how bad he was, and there was very little positive to say about Robert Sarver in the situation. As I was reading, there was a couple things here and there where it said, oh yeah, this executive said they never had a problem. This person said they never had a problem, but the rest of it was just a bunch of problems. You know what I mean? And my thing is, you can have a personality that doesn't understand others. You can have a personality that's detached from others to a degree. You can be out of touch. Hey, that's just part of being a distance from others. But you gotta seek ways to find ways to respect others if you're going to get that respect in an organic way thrown back at you. You gotta seek ways to respect others. I said something to my friend, I think it was a day ago. It makes a lot of sense to me. I said, I want to be intelligent enough to know how not to hurt the people I intend not to hurt. Intelligent enough. Because it's not enough to have good intentions. Intentions can turn out to be bad for you. You can say, I was trying to do something, but intellectually you messed it up. You did this, and this, said that, let that slip out of your mouth. Now this is all messed up. You have to be smart enough to know how to cover your backside, how to cover others' backside, how to know what to do. It takes intelligence, not just intent. And this is part of it. Robert Sarver is lacking a strategy in regards to how to make his environment peaceful, how to make it so that the people who are after him and trying to take him down don't have any ammunition against him. For all the things that he was able to accomplish in being a billionaire and keeping his team going and what have you, and all the things that he's done in his life, one thing he failed to understand is how to keep that foundation from crumbling around him. It starts with respecting certain things, even though you don't have to respect certain things. That's what my grandmother taught me. You are going to be respected for doing the things that you're not supposed to do, not necessarily the things that you are. And in a case like Robert Sarver, you don't have to respect people's, space. You don't have to not say the N-word. Ain't nobody about to run up on you. He can say the N-word as the only word he ever wants to say, and he's going to always be safe because he can afford to be. But it's better for him to not use that word because he doesn't have to deal with certain things that otherwise are unnecessary to deal with in his life. Things that come back at him to make his life harder. Headaches that come his way. Stress keeps him up at night. It starts with things that he's doing toward others. Reading about how this lady she said she developed a complex because he was calling her all wee hours of the night, every night. Like, what? I understand you are running a business, this, that, and the third, but you got to make sure you hire people that are wired for that. You can't be giving people complexes, man. Messing with people's mental health just so they can do your job. I mean, again, things he doesn't have to adhere to because he's a billionaire, but things that if he weren't adhering to and he was in a room, general population, he'd get in trouble. He wouldn't be able to stand in that room. So I think in the presence of great, in the presence of great uncertainty, where we don't know where the weather is going to take us tomorrow. We don't know where finance is going to take us tomorrow. We don't know what the world will look like tomorrow. I think it's smart for everybody, all walks of life, both those who have very, very little to nothing to those all the way at the top, like Robert Sarver. It's important we all learn how to survive in that room together, because we're in that room together. It's called Earth. And if we don't learn how to respect ourselves and respect others and respect things that matter to others and see how that matters to us, we're going to find ourselves in some unnecessary conflicts with unnecessary headaches and 1-year suspensions with $15 million fines and all kinds of other stuff. People trying to take your property from you. People who are going to try to take your property from you, not because of any other thing than you not respecting what is required to survive in that room. Because they don't get to say the N-word, buddy. They don't get to keep their team for doing the things that you did. They don't have, you see, it just keeps going on and on and on. And that's when you start running into the jealousy factor. It's not just about people who want to see him held accountable or want to see him become a better person or want to see him become a better employer. Nah. They just want to see him in the bottom, just where they at. They want to see him on the ground because some of them are on the ground. And not looking to improve anything. You see what I'm saying? And maybe he did some things that would make it so that I don't root for him, that would make them all successful in taking him down. But guess what? I'm watching all of them. I watch everybody. I don't trust the ones that are after him, just like I don't trust him. That's how I look at things. Nah. I look at it like this. Robert Sarver, with all due respect, I would try to go back to the drawing board as it pertains to finding out my morals and what will allow me to survive in that room. I would go all the way to, I would start from the ground floor as it pertains to the morals. I would want to know why the N-word is such a bad word. I'd need to talk to any and everybody that can help me understand why that's such a damn big deal. And when you come around to find out why it's a big deal, respect it after that. That's what I tell everybody. When you find out what we find out, respect it. Respect it, because it's one of those things that'll keep you alive in that room. That analogy is so important because it is important in my mind, because all walks of life and classes and creeds are going to find themselves together at some point. I really believe that. I ain't got no proof of this. But the way the world is starting to change, the way the weather is going a certain way, the way the financial market is going, it's a lot of stuff that's may someday get flipped on its axis. And sometimes those of us who didn't have to respect certain things your grandkids may, your great-grandkids may, that generational wealth you think you're handing to them, it may not get to them, man. They may need to be able to survive in that room. A lot of y'all don't want to hear that. Y'all don't want to believe that. Y'all don't think that's true. But it's better to be ready for that and find out I'm right than to not and have your kid get destroyed in that room because they couldn't find it within themselves to respect themselves enough to keep themselves favorable in that damn room. So that's where I'm at, man. Teach your kids morals and respect. Teach them context and to seek it. Teach them wisdom and an understanding that their money can't save their backside when they're in the presence of that room, in the presence of those wolves. Your morals, your manners, your humbleness, your ability to admit when you are wrong, your ability to accept others' differences, your ability to shut up when you have something really, really bad to say about somebody. Those things will keep your butt alive in that room. And that's what's up. So I hope Robert Sarver somehow gets this video, because he don't have nobody around him that's going to tell him in this way. You were depraved to certain things that would make it so that you will be fine in places where you need to be able to be fine, man. Straight up. Because these are the things that people respect in arenas such as this. And if you don't respect these things, you're not going to have any favor in that room, and they're going to push you out. That's it. I'm not telling you how to respect morals or how to be, on my moral ground or whatever. That don't mean nothing to do with nothing. It really means nothing. What matters is how you survive in the places that you're trying to be in. And the best way I learned how to do that is by being humble, especially when you don't have to be. Most definitely when you don't have to. The more grace you show, the more grace you'll be given. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching.